Hello, it's Anna here from Papercraft Create and welcome to my channel. This video will be my project share for a set of cards for Kendra's card challenge number 9. I'm very happy and proud to announce that I'm one of the new design team members for this challenge. I have actually been participating in it for the last 4 or 5 challenges. Absolutely love it, so I was very happy and excited to be an official design team member. So what I'll do is I'll just explain a little bit about the challenge itself. However, I will link Kendra's introduction video. She does an amazing job of explaining everything, so I wouldn't want to take away from that. But I'll just have a little explanation about how I go about it and certainly show you my set of 15 cards. So basically what this is a card making challenge. Now it's worldwide, so anyone in the world can enter, and she has some fantastic sponsors which you'll be able to see over at her website, and once again I will link all information in the description box so you can find out more about that. So it's basically taking 6 pieces of 6x6 patterned paper. What she does is she provides a cutting template, so you'll see that she has these wonderful PDFs of the cutting templates and explains all of that in her introductory video. And then she also provides 15 card sketches. So what you'll see is obviously the colours are all numbered, the papers are all numbered and have you know, a colour coordinated, and work back with these card sketches. And there's 15 cards there, and then a little bit of information, but of course her video will show you a little bit more. In this video I'm only going to do like a run through of the set of cards, where I'll I think with my next lot I'll run through and actually show you all the making of them as well, or maybe over a couple of parts. Just with Christmas and school holidays here in Australia, a little bit challenging with the kids at home, but anyhow I got them done, so I'm very happy to share with you how I went about it. So first of all, what I'd like to talk about is the cutting up of the papers and the selection of the papers. So basically what I do personally myself is I will lay out my three little papers there, and I'll put my paper sort of over the top of each of those. And then what I do is I take the cards and I'll actually run through and go, okay, so card A will be red, and also A and B, or red and yellow. They'll work well together, and sort of run through it each card by each card, just really roughly to see whether, you know, the cards, the papers, sorry, will match one another. What I also like to do is I also like to run through and use a set of papers that are coordinating in one particular set. So what I'll generally do is work out, you know, whether I need a bunch of birthday cards or Christmas cards or whatever set of cards I need, and I will actually choose my paper, make sure it all coordinates with itself. And then I'll also have a look at like a stamp set or something, you know, dies or whatever it is, and just coordinate everything together. I personally find it easier to make a cohesive set of cards. I know a lot of people might need a couple of cards for birthday, a couple of cards for wedding, whatever it might be, and do it all like that, and that's also fine. I just find that when I do this, if I just sort of coordinate it all in one sort of group, that for me works a lot better. Then what I do is follow obviously all the cutting instructions. I will set up little clear acetate bags, and I will pop, you know, a number on each of those, 1 to 15, and as I cut them I put them into the bags, because I know that by the end of it I won't know where I'm at with anything, and I just find that the easiest way to go about it. So what I'll do is I'll leave that aside now, and I'll run through my cards. Now what I will do is I'll keep these card sketches here so that we can refer to them. So this time round I did change a few things up on the cards, and that is also completely fine, and it's basically just working together with what you have. I mean, the whole idea of this is to use up what you have, rather than, you know, sort of going a little crazy, going, oh, I don't have that exact shape or size or whatever, with all the embellishments and little bits and pieces. So I'll start with card number 1. So that is this card sketch here. It is actually pretty true to the card sketch here. However, what I have done is I've used a sentiment strip across here, and also just sort of used that strip intended there. Instead of using like a rectangle piece there, I just embellished with this gorgeous little set here. Now this actually, all the cards, all the equipment that I've used as far as stamp sets and papers and all of that sort of stuff is actually part of a kit. It was a winter 2022 kit from an Australian crafting company called Uniquely Creative. I will leave those details there. As it was winter 2022, I would have to check if it's still in stock. However, they do have some wonderful bits and pieces, and I'm sure you would find something else if you didn't get this one here exactly. And they do ship internationally. I'm not sure if it's to all countries, but you could certainly inquire with that. So what I did is with my layers, so on this bottom piece I did use a glitter cardstock. If you've seen a few of my other videos, I'm a big fan of glitter cardstock. I just like that little bit of extra bling, and it really does pop off the page. And then using coordinating aquarry type of, very pale aquarry sort of colours, and instead of using the three little dots here, what I have done is just sort of place them in a little bit of another area. It's quite a busy card, so I just thought, they might get lost there, and I thought it just added a little something to it. So that's that card there. Okay, so moving on to number 2. So card sketch number 2, what I did do with that is I obviously changed the orientation of the card. So it was supposed to be a landscape card, but I turned it into a portrait. And instead of using this banner shape, I just used a rectangle, as I felt for this particular card that was a little bit better, because you sort of lose a little bit of this background if it had been a banner shape. And this is what I mean about accommodating to what you have. And obviously I would think a few of us would have some square dies, or you don't even need, you just need a paper trimmer or a pair of scissors to make it square. So what I did do is once again used a bit of glitter cardstock, obviously coloured in my little Copic colouring with my little beavers here. I think they're beavers, raccoons. They are some gorgeous little animals there. And just used a big sort of round sentiment there to finish that off. So that's that one there. Oh, actually the other thing I did want to mention, what I did do, and I don't know if it's, I might bring it up and see whether you can see it. Don't know when it'll come in, but I have actually embossed. I had a cloud embossing folder, just a very nice subtle bit of texture in the background there. I'm also a very big fan of adding lots of layers and textures to my cards. I find it very hard just to leave them plain without something, whether it's a specialty cardstock or adding a little bit of embossing or something to it. So that's that one there. Moving on to number 3, so card sketch 3. So this is fairly close to the card sketch. The only thing I have done is obviously, I've just added in once again my glitter cardstock as a matting layer. I have added like a cover plate die, which sort of creates an embossed cut on top of this plain cardstock. When I saw it just on its own, it was wasn't too much, but just adding that little bit of detail, looks really lovely. And then once again, I've used that cloud embossing folder, which I believe is a Spellbounders one, and once again I can add in those details there. So that's that one. And once again, I did use the dots. I did use them as intended. However, just with the little banner in the top, I didn't include that, only because I just felt it would have just been a little crowded in that corner. So you can leave off bits and pieces, or I could have used it perhaps somewhere else, but I just felt that was quite good on its own. Okay, so the other one now is number 4. So let's go into card sketch number 4. This one here is fairly much the same. However, what I did do is to add a few different things. I used like a grey blue sort of card base for something a little bit different. The other thing I did is this very bottom layer, I actually used a vellum and embossed that with that cloud embossing folder. And then I've, instead of just a straight line, I've used a sentiment. Well, I've used a sentiment there, but I've used a border die to create a little bit of interest there, and just a little frame on the circle just to jazz that up with a bit more glitter cardstock. And I think that's come up quite cute with that there. Okay, so moving on to number 5. So number 5, just because of the direction of the pattern paper, I did once again change this up, the orientation to a landscape instead of portrait. I really wanted to use this wisp side of the paper, and that's actually, while I'm talking about that, one thing to mention is if you can, and obviously only if you do, if you used a double-sided pattern paper, it gives you twice as many options. So sometimes if things don't quite coordinate, you've got something else to choose from and really change up, you know, the look of the cards. So sorry, getting back to this card. So I really changed this one here up. So you know, moving this square sort of, you know, down below onto this side, just because of, you know, what I wanted to, the sentiment I want to use, and the big sort of word there would have been a little bit crazy. Once again, matted on glitter cardstock, and then I actually embossed, whether or not you can see that, I embossed that with just a it's a heart embossing folder. I think it's an old Stampin' Up one, which is quite lovely. And also I think that one also, there was a 2-pack of heart sort of mini embossing folders, and I used that one on there. And as you can see, although it is a lot of white, because of all the embossing, it's you know, created a bit more excitement and made it just a little bit more lively. Okay, so moving on to card sketch number 6. Okay, so card sketch number 6, pretty much the same sort of thing. What I did do is I used a decorative rectangular scallop die as the base for that, rather than just a plain rectangle. And you can do that, and it was a little bit different in size, so even if it's a little bit different, you know, just work with what you've got, and use just a sentiment strip there. Once again, I felt that the banners weren't going to work in with this sort of scene, so I added in a couple of clouds. Of course, putting in my glitter, couldn't resist not using glitter on the card, and those pops of the darker jadey sort of aqua colour just really bring out you know, the other colours, and really add a pop of colour to this card here. The other thing I did is I firstly stamped on that little puddle, and the other thing I did was use that cover plate again. For me, this diagonal sort of dotted line makes it look like rain to me, so I thought it was sort of, you know, a good complement to the rainy paper and theme. Okay, so moving now on to cards 7 to 12. So card sketch 7. Here we go. So what I have done is I've used a decorative border through here, and then obviously a scalloped circle, stitch circle, and then a little strip there. So pretty much the same, just sort of, you know, interpreting it to my my likes. And the other thing is, this was actually a just a textured cardstock, just like a pinstripe sort of cardstock, which just also adds just a little bit of interest, but I felt the rest of it was quite busy with the 2 patterns, so I just sort of kept it quite subtle. And here's my cute little guy there, so cute. Alright, so moving on to 8. Okay, card number 8. So this is essentially the same card sketch, however you can see that I have used a big oval shape, and that is, I think it is about 3.5 inches wide, just that it is obviously a little higher. So pretty much followed the rest of it to a T. What I did do, and I don't know how whether this will come up or not, I embossed this bottom bit to add some clouds in, just because it was so plain with the white. I thought it was just a bit stark on its own. So I embossed the clouds with that cloud embossing folder, and then I coloured it over just with some Wink of Stella, just to give it a little bit of a metallic-y look. I haven't really used much of the Wink of Stella before, but I think it sort of came up okay. So I'm sort of still not sure whether I love it or not, but yeah, it's quite a nice little detail. And then obviously just adding the sentiment just with the big circle sentiment there. So next is card sketch number 9. This one here is pretty much to a T. The only thing I didn't do was add the 3 dots there. What you will see is obviously use the card glitter stock again, my gorgeous little guy there, and then because I've used a light sort of bluey green card base, I have actually used a white bottom, but I did emboss that with a big polka dot embossing folder. I believe that's also a Stampin' Up one, and just added in a little bit of purple into that, just to add, keep it in those sort of tones of the blues, purples and green. So that's quite nice. Okay, moving on to card number 10. Okay, so that one there I have kept fairly much the same. However, what I did is this 1/4 inch strip, I decided that I wanted to use 2 strips. When I did it, for whatever reasons, I just felt it wasn't quite enough for me. I just wanted a bit of a pop, and that seemed to sort of look quite nice. I've used obviously an oval. I've embossed that with a little polka dot, and then used the strip sentiment. I've used like a textured light colour there just to also add a bit more texture, and that one there's a cutie. Okay, so moving on to 11. This one here, I have changed up ever so slightly. What I did do is, because there was a lot of blue on this, I just felt it needed a little something to zhuzh it up. So I have used just a glitter strip, about 1/4 inch, just through the middle between those, and just felt it added a little bit more, using that same textured baby blue cardstock, and then backing it up with a darker blue. Just the hues of the blues and the purple all coordinate really lovely, and then using my shape to put my sentiment in that with a little bit of a scalloped circle as the matting underneath that. The other thing I did do on this, and I have a feeling I did it on another card, I can't remember now if I don't know. What I did do is I actually stamped on some of the patterned paper, and I cut out around that and used it for the jumper, as opposed to colouring that in with my Copic markers, just for something a little bit different. I thought it was quite cute, and got that idea from one of the design team members from the Uniquely Creative team, and thought that was a great little way, so I gave it a go, and then just fussy cut around that. And it's actually a really quick way to add some pattern and even texture, even though it's flat, to something, if you didn't want to sort of colour in everything. That's that one there. So 12. Okay, this has got to be one of my favourite ones. So 12, fairly much the same. However, what I have done is I've used a dark matte, and then I've used a bit of vellum, which I did also emboss. So heaps and heaps of texture and stuff going on here. I just felt there was, 2 sort of strong patterns. So I wanted something there, but just, the base colour was probably just a bit too dark, and that just sort of mutes it down a little. Then I added in just my little sentiment strip with the banner, as is here, and used an oval die, which once again I used that cloud Just don't know if it's sort of showing up on there, but that cloud embossing folder, and then with the addition of the beautiful little heart balloons there. So cute. I really love the way this one here came out. Alright, so moving on to the last three. Okay, so moving on to 13. So 13 actually is fairly much the same, so fairly spot on. The only thing is I decided, because it was sort of heavy, the focal point was heavy over this side, I just felt those 3 dots work better here, just bringing the eye, you know, from here into here. It just looked like a better fit. I just added in my sentiment there. Obviously I used the banner as well, and what I did do is I also used that cover stitch, that cover plate with the stitch look there, once again with that rain sort of look in my eyes. I don't know if it is in everyone else's. And then I also embossed this other. I obviously have a lot of issues with just plain white paper. I like to actually add a little bit more, but as you can see, you know, it is still white, but it does bring on a great amount of texture, and doesn't look so plain. And then of course my signature bit of glitter cardstock there, which is great. Going on to card 14. So this one here I did do a little bit different. So what I didn't include the ribbon. I just felt I wasn't able to work it in with the scene so well, so I decided to just make a scene. I did leave this plain and wish I had actually done something to it before, but I already stuck it down and had to work with what I could. I did actually cut out a couple of these drops and erase those, because I did stamp that one a little bit dodgy, so I just thought, what can I do? How can I fix this? So then I thought, well, if I just you know, cut out a raindrop, you'll be able to see that it's it just gives it a little bit of dimension. Hopefully it doesn't look too odd. And then I also did some white embossing of some clouds over that paper there, just to create a full scene of my happy little friends here. And that one there, I think that ended up actually quite cute too. Last one. So last one, lucky number 15. So it's just sort of the opposite of that one there. What I did do is this had a focal point of that one there, and I really, as part of this kit, it came with some laser cut very fine wooden pieces, and this rainbow was part of it, and I just had to use it in one of these cards and wasn't sure which one to put it on, but then decided with this one here. So what I did do is I cut out this big sort of short circle, or I'm not sure what sort of a shape that is actually called, and then use that as the base to, you know, put my focal point of this rainbow. Use the sentiment there, so it sort of looks quite different from that, but you know, it's still using that same sketch, but just using it in a little bit of a different way. And really quite pleased. So what I did do with this is I actually used Copic markers to colour in each one of these little ones, and then I just put clear embossing powder over the top just to give it a little bit more oomph. And obviously using my glitter paper as background on this shape, and then on that little strip there as well. So look, as you can see, you know, there's lots you can do with these card sketches. You don't have to keep to them exactly. It is just a starting point, and you can, you know, certainly make them your own. What I'll do is I will I'll put a little photo of each, and you can sort of have a look at those. I would hope that everyone would, you know, give this a go. If you head over to the Cards by Kendra website, you'll be able to download the free PDF, and as mentioned earlier, I'll put all that information in the description box. Now, I would love if you enjoyed this and you'd like to keep up with what I'm doing with particularly with the design team, but some other stuff that I'll be doing craft-wise, please do hit the subscribe button, and you'll be notified when I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you take part. If you would love to leave a comment, I'd love to see which one of these was your favorite card, or if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate your watching.